What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are giving you a state of the market in stock picks for March 9th, 2022. Now, leading up to this point, things have been escalating quite a bit in Russia and Ukraine. I think everybody's well aware of what's going on at this given moment. But today, Biden came out and put more sanctions on essentially Russian oil. Russia, in turn, essentially stopped all exports out of Russia. And now we got Poland essentially dedicating the whole, I think the whole Air Force fleet, fighter jets, a good majority of their fighter jets to Ukraine. Things are escalating very quickly from this point. There was actually another news event that came out today as well, essentially saying that Chinese companies that aid U.S. Should be shut down, and the U.S. could essentially shut down semiconductor manufacturing international corporations or any Chinese companies that defy U.S. sanctions. So we have a huge order. So we have a huge order of sanctions coming out. This is going to continue to hurt the economy in many ways. It's going to drive up inflation, which is eventually going to lead the Fed to become in a lot more hawkish than originally expected from this point moving forward. And next week, essentially, because the FOMC meeting is next week, it is going to get very interesting. We're at a critical point on SPX. If we break below that, we could see some really heavy sliding down from that point. Again, we are almost close to that 15%. Again, we had a nice pop today, this afternoon. I thought we would actually rally back, but then we got all those sanction news, which essentially sunk us. And so, being said, if something happens, something we talked about previously, about a couple of weeks back, if something happens with chips, tech is going to get hit just as bad as chips are. Essentially, all of growth stocks, they need chips. So it could impact everything really dramatically, and we could see another major leg down if this does happen. Now, normally when these particular statements are told, they don't typically always follow through. But that almost seems like it's the next step. And again, it's not just going to impact, yes, we're all trying to protect Ukraine. You have to understand all of these companies are going to hit dramatically because of this. And things, again, are going to, or spiraling out of control very fast. So we're going to have to take it a day at a time in this market till we figure out what exactly is going on. So SPX, we need to definitely hold this level. The 4150 mark is what I talked about. You essentially have that 4100 mark, which is your 20 on the monthly. You already did a first bounce off of that. So this one, again, if we don't hold and we break through that, we could look to go pretty low from that point. Again, my next could have a support here, even at the 4065, but then the next support is essentially around the 4K mark. So I think there's a strong possibility we could head lower. Looking, I mean, we're close to 50 now. If all these sanctions continue to come out, if Powell starts to really lose it and starts to take other actions, if China starts getting involved, things again are going to escalate quickly, and that will continue to sell the market off even more. Again, the nice thing is the market's trying to bounce on like critical levels, and so that's a good thing. We're not getting weak bounces. The people are still buying, which is a good sign in my mind. But again, ultimately, realize that we can still get a strong leg down on essentially those two catalysts. And again, how fast Fed's going to come in and start raising rates, especially with gas going so high. Energy has also been been doing very well with everything that's going on. So again, we rejected up here. Looking for possibly tomorrow, we could possibly even go at 4,100 mark. That I think we could open up down there tomorrow. Now, if there's even more major news, I think it could drop even down to that 4070. It really just depends. There's a lot of stuff that is coming out. Again, this market is changing so dramatically on every news. Given now to where it's escalated, I don't see it just stopping. I don't see peace talks just coming out. I just don't see that happen anytime soon. So we can probably continue to see the slow grind down and all these pops moving forward, at least in the foreseeable future. We'll have to see if something dramatically changes there. Bitcoin, again, something I've always said needs to hold 32K mark. Still holding solid here. Again, I think with popularity of crypto and everything that's going on, they were also talking about regulations. The Senate was talking to Powell last week about regulations and that it needs to be prioritized. And so, especially with they're thinking that Russia is essentially liquidating or getting their funding through the crypto markets. So if that's a possibility, there may be some regulations on here, which is ultimately good for Bitcoin, as long as the government doesn't go too crazy on it, but we'll have to see how that goes. So we really want to watch. It's currently holding that essentially around that 37K mark. As long as it can hold that, so again, we got the range up to about 45. I think we're going to continue to consolidate there. And with everything that's going on with inflation, I can see this again. Inflation was one of the bigger gauges that helped us push up. Fear of inflation is what helped us push up. I think we're going to get that fuel again in the crypto and cause that to start pushing back up, especially the mass adoption. A lot of these big corporations, I think it could be a strong possibility. Again, it's really in the Fed's hands at this point. They know that. Obviously, they have to regulate something. So you need to be very mindful of that. We should hear some sort of word on what they are discussing at this point. We'll probably hear more even next week about that during the meetings. But that being said, tomorrow, what I'm really looking at, I've always talked about you got to go for stocks that that bounce back quickly. Tesla, again, being one of them. This one needs to be on your watch, especially with everything trending down. A lot of things aren't going to recover, especially what all the sanctions stuff putting on. It's going to take a long time for some of these companies to come back from what's going on currently. So being said, Tesla, again, bounces back quickly. It did try to break out today, got rejected again. So we're looking to see, are we going to come back down to the 738 mark tomorrow? If we get any kind of news as far as like chip news, again, I think this is going to be one of your first ones to get hit hard. As soon as semiconductors and stuff get hit with sanctions, the whole tech industry is going to start coming down. Again, I think energy held up the whole market essentially today for the most part. Everything else was kind of stagnant. Some things sold off, but some things did hold. So again, we're looking at that 743 tomorrow and trying to break above 862. I really don't see any kind of break with the current situation. But again, as soon as we hit these levels, you can expect Tesla to try to at least pop back and get to the 821 mark. Is what I could possibly see if we do start to sell down that low again. Again, I think we'll get one more attempt to pop up, and then if it dies out, we could be breaking this and going lower. But again, that's one of your leaders you definitely want to be watching during this whole time and keep on watch. Airbnb is, interestingly enough, holding steady. It's got this resistance here at 145 tomorrow. 145. If we can open above this tomorrow, we might actually get a little bit of a play. Some value has been doing very well during everything that's going on. Airbnb normally does do very well, so I'm kind of watching to see a lot of well-known brand names are are at least kind of becoming the safe haven. So people will know those, trust those. And so they'll put money in those as opposed to a lot of these other ones that are, that have potential on what they could become. So again, watching that level tomorrow, if we do break below this 135, you got the 132 mark, but then after that point, you're really pushing it, and we can see this go even lower than that. Again, I think some of these can really go pretty low, just all depending. Gold has been going absolutely, commodities in general have been going nuts just with everything going on. Gold is absolutely ridiculous at this point. But with everything being considered, it can continue to push till we get some information on what's going on, unless the situation changes dramatically. So kind of watch this pennant. This pennant's going to break overnight. Is this going to break to the upside or the downside tomorrow? Then kind of watch that 193 mark tomorrow. If we can break and hold above that, I think gold can continue pushing up. Again, a lot of these are starting to get some bigger moves. So you don't want to FOMO into them, because all that's going to take is one piece of news, ceasefire, and this thing can collapse on itself very quickly, and you won't be able to liquidate your position. It'll be very hard to, at least not where you want it. So that's why it's always good to sell into strength, because stuff like this isn't normal. These moves are not normal. These moves on wheat, these moves on petroleum are just not normal. Wheat does not move this way. And when we found out that Russia was essentially going to stop all its exporting, wheat got this huge candle pop right back up. This could start running up. Again, with wheat, you're looking at that 13 mark. If it can't break that 13 mark, you're going to get a hard rejection off this tomorrow. Could be a potential head and shoulders tomorrow. If that's the case, it could really start to sell. So I'm kind of watching that 13 tomorrow on wheat. Again, these positions aren't super liquid, so I wouldn't typically play them. That's why I like playing a lot of the big tech companies, because you can liquidate your position fast if you're dealing with options and even shares in itself. So some energy plays I wanted to look at real quick. Now, I used to have this huge list on tons of stuff, and I've kind of simplified my list a little bit more, but considering everything that's going on, there's a couple other things to be looking at. MP has had a massive day today. Looking for a continuation of this. As long as it can hold that 43.30 mark tomorrow, I'm trying to look to see if it can retest this, essentially that 47 mark tomorrow. Normally the second days are strong, especially with energy and everything that's going on. I think MP could be a good possibility tomorrow. As long as you can keep it within energy, you might be okay. This is another interesting one too. Bluebird, believe they actually do buses in a lot of, as far as EVs go. It's had a lot of good consolidation. We could really use a break of the 2150 mark. If it breaks that, we could get some nice plays. If not, you don't want it below this $20 mark. So something to keep in mind there. TAN is another big one. Again, hitting resistance here. So if we can break above this 77.70, I think we could make a big run for it. Big run being, you'd probably get up to 85 before we see some major resistance. But aside from that, you don't want it below this 67 or 76. If it's that point, it's better to just let it drop back down to the 50, which is sitting at that 70 mark, enter there, and then try to play this range here. But Plug is another one. Again, all energy is doing very well. If Plug can get a break at the 25.79, kind of look for that. Try to get a test of that 28 if possible tomorrow. Could be potential there in Plug. REI is another big one here. It's actually dropped down in this lower zone. So what you really want to do is you don't want it to drop below this 371 mark tomorrow. But if we can find ourselves back up here, retesting that $4.05 mark and break above that, again, ultimately you want the hourly candle to open above whatever that resistance level is. And if it does, it has a greater potential to go in your favor. But Tell is another one. It's sold off during the day, so it'll be interesting to watch this one again. So there's a lot of little random energy plays tomorrow. If we get more sanctions, if we get some more attack, if Russia starts continuing attacking, making bigger moves overnight, there's also rumor that Putin is not happy at all in what's going on. So again, if something escalates even more than what it already is, again, it's not going to matter. Energy and all that stuff is going to get hit. Everything will come down. Wheat will come down. Everything will come down. The reason why commodities are running so high is because of sanctions, inflation, right? All these things are what are driving what is currently being pumped right now, gas and everything. And again, it could all be undone, unraveled with, hey, we're going to have a ceasefire, and then everything will come crashing down. Tech will start pushing up again, go back to the ways that a lot of people are used to. So you have to be mindful in this way. You have to be vigilant on this stuff. You need to be taking profits when you can because of that fact, because of the fact that the market shifts so dramatically and so quickly. But again, my overall thesis on the market, there's still a lot of money in the market. We have to be mindful of that. This is why the market's not just essentially taking the beating. It's been trying to fight back. But again, every time it catches momentum, it also catches news from Russia and Ukraine and sells off. So once again, I think that piece of it gets alleviated, the market will start pushing and rallying back. Again, I'm not talking about all-time highs. I don't see all-time highs until I know for sure. As long as we can get some runners, there's good news with the Russian-Ukraine thing, as far as a ceasefire, and then take it day by day, and then see what the Fed has in store for us as well. So, but if you've made it this far, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.